June 25, 2009. A frantic 911 call breaks the silence at 12:21 p.m. He's not breathing. He's not responding. Micheal Jackson, the king of pop, was lying unconscious in his bedroom at his Los Angeles mansion. Paramedics rushed to the scene within minutes, but it was already too late. At 2:26 p.m., Micheal Jackson was pronounced dead at UCLA Medical Center. The news spread like wildfire. TV networks interrupted their programming to announce the shocking death of the greatest entertainer of all time. The world was stunned. How could Micheal Jackson, someone larger than life, die so suddenly? What could have gone so terribly wrong?
Mr. Jackson.
But it was not clear.
The big question, what are we missing? His death, his legacy. Everything is still very fuzzy.
At first, the official cause of death was ruled as cardiac arrest, but the truth was far more disturbing. Micheal Jackson didn't die from a heart attack or a health condition. His death wasn't an accident. It was caused by the very person he trusted to keep him alive. Someone who was supposed to protect him ended up killing him. So, what really happened that day? How did the most famous man in the world end up in a situation so dangerous? And why was he given a drug so powerful it's only used in operating rooms? This is the chilling true story of the doctor who killed Micheal Jackson, and how it all could have been prevented. But before we get to the day he died, you need to understand how Micheal got here in the first place. Chapter 1. Introduction. Micheal Jackson wasn't just a pop star, he was a cultural phenomenon. From his early days with the Jackson 5 to becoming the king of pop, Michael's talent was undeniable. His albums like Thriller broke records, and his performances defined an era. But with that level of fame came enormous pressure. Micheal wasn't just famous, he was a living brand. Every performance had to be flawless, every appearance perfect. Behind the scenes, that pressure was destroying him. Michael's health began to deteriorate in the late 1980s. He was diagnosed with vitiligo, a skin condition that caused his skin to lose pigment. The media accused him of trying to whiten his skin, but the truth was more complicated. After suffering burns on his scalp during a 1984 Pepsi commercial, Micheal was prescribed opioids for the pain, and that's when the cycle of dependence began. By 2009, Micheal was preparing for his comeback. 50 sold-out shows at London's O2 Arena. But he was falling apart. He couldn't sleep. His body was breaking down, and he was desperate for help. That's when Dr. Conrad Murray entered the picture. Murray wasn't hired for heart issues. He was hired to help Micheal sleep. Murray tried sedatives like lorazepam, diazepam, and midazolam, but nothing worked. That's when Micheal asked for something stronger. He asked for Propofol, a powerful anesthetic used during surgery, not for sleep. Murray knew the risks. He knew that using Propofol outside of a hospital setting was reckless and illegal, but Micheal was desperate, and Murray was being paid $150,000 a month to keep him happy. Murray gave in. Micheal called it his milk because of its milky white appearance. He believed it was the only way he could sleep. Murray knew he was playing with fire, but he did it anyway. Michael's life was hanging by a thread, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. Chapter 2. How he got away with it. Dr. Conrad Murray wasn't just reckless, he was criminally negligent. After Micheal Jackson's death, investigators discovered a horrifying reality. Murray had been giving Micheal Propofol nearly every night for months, leading up to his death. This wasn't just bad medicine, it was a catastrophic breach of medical ethics. But how did he get away with it for so long? How could a licensed cardiologist, someone trained to save lives, so carelessly put Micheal Jackson's life at risk? Micheal Jackson wasn't just any patient. He was a global icon preparing for the most ambitious tour of his career. 50 sold-out shows at London's O2 Arena, millions of dollars at stake, concert promoters breathing down his neck. Micheal was under enormous pressure to deliver. His body was breaking down, and his mind was unraveling from years of stress and trauma. The insomnia was unbearable. He would go days without sleeping. Micheal wasn't asking for help anymore. He was demanding it. Dr. Murray knew that if he refused, he would be out. Michael was paying him $150,000 a month to be available 24/7. To keep Michael happy, Murray gave him whatever he wanted. When Michael asked for Propofol, Murray initially resisted. He knew the dangers, but Michael insisted. He told Murray that other doctors had given it to him before. He said it was the only thing that worked, and Murray, knowing the consequences, gave in. Michael started referring to Propofol as his milk because of its milky white color. It became part of his nightly routine. Every night Murray would administer Propofol through an IV, and Michael would drift off into an unnatural sleep. Murray had no monitoring equipment, no oxygen tank, no heart monitor, no emergency resuscitation tools. He was essentially putting Michael under surgical sedation without any backup plan in case something went wrong. But Propofol alone wasn't the only problem. Murray was also giving Michael a dangerous cocktail of drugs. In the days leading up to Michael's death, Murray was administering powerful sedatives like lorazepam and midazolam, along with diazepam, a muscle relaxer. Combining these drugs with Propofol was like playing Russian roulette with someone's life. The mix of sedatives slowed down breathing and heart rate to dangerous levels. Murray knew this, but he did it anyway. On the night of June 24, 2009, Micheal Jackson couldn't sleep. He begged Murray for Propofol. At around 10:40 p.m., Murray gave him Valium, diazepam, to help him relax. When that didn't work, he followed it up with lorazepam at 2 a.m. When Michael still couldn't sleep, Murray gave him midazolam at 3 a.m. Nothing worked. Michael was agitated and restless. He begged Murray to give him his milk. At 10:40 a.m. on June 25, 2009, Murray finally gave in. He set up an IV and administered 25 milligrams of Propofol, just enough to make Michael fall asleep. Murray later claimed that Michael was resting comfortably, so he left the room to make some phone calls. But Propofol doesn't work like that. It's not a regular sedative. It's a drug that requires constant monitoring because it can cause breathing to stop suddenly. When Murray returned to the room, Michael wasn't breathing. Murray panicked. He started performing CPR, but not on the floor, which is standard protocol, on the bed, which made it less effective. He wasted critical minutes trying to revive Michael before calling 911. "He's not breathing," Murray told the dispatcher. "He's unconscious." By the time paramedics arrived, Michael was already in full cardiac arrest. His body was lifeless. His skin was cold. His lips were blue. Murray knew exactly what had happened, but he wasn't about to admit it. When the paramedics arrived, they asked Murray a crucial question. What medications has he taken? Murray listed the sedatives, but left out the Propofol. If the paramedics had known about the Propofol, they might have treated Michael differently. They might have had a chance to reverse the cardiac arrest. But Murray's hesitation and his attempt to cover up his actions sealed Michael's fate. Michael was rushed to UCLA Medical Center. Doctors worked frantically to restart his heart, but after 42 minutes, it was over. At 2:26 p.m., Micheal Jackson, the king of pop, was pronounced dead. The initial cause of death was listed as cardiac arrest, but Michael's family and his fans knew there was more to the story. And when the toxicology report came back, the truth was undeniable. High levels of Propofol, along with sedatives in his system. The dangerous drug cocktail that Dr. Murray had created was the cause of death. But the story wasn't over, because now the police were involved, and Dr. Conrad Murray was about to face the consequences of his actions. But what Murray said to investigators next was even more disturbing. Chapter 3: The Investigation and Trial. After Michael's death, the truth came out fast. The toxicology report confirmed high levels of Propofol and sedatives in his system. The LAPD launched a full-scale criminal investigation, and Murray quickly became the prime suspect. He initially denied any wrongdoing, claiming he was just trying to help Michael sleep. But the facts told a different story. Murray had been giving Michael Propofol almost every night for months, without proper monitoring or backup equipment. Propofol isn't a sleep aid. It's a surgical anesthetic that requires constant supervision. Despite knowing the risks, Murray kept administering it because Michael demanded it. and because he was being paid $150,000 a month to keep Michael happy. In February 2010, Murray was officially charged with involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors argued that his reckless behavior directly caused Michael's death. He gave Propofol without proper monitoring, failed to respond quickly when Michael stopped breathing, and lied to paramedics about the drugs he had administered. After 6 weeks of testimony, the jury found Murray guilty. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, the maximum penalty allowed under California law. But due to overcrowding, he served only 2 years. 2 years for the death of Micheal Jackson. When he was released, Murray showed little remorse. He blamed Michael for his own death and even portrayed himself as a victim in interviews and a book. Michael's death was officially ruled a homicide, caused by acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication, administered by Dr. Conrad Murray. But for Michael's family and fans, it wasn't enough. The person responsible for Micheal Jackson's death walked free after 2 years, and the betrayal cut deep. Conspiracy theories. Some fans believe Murray was just a scapegoat, that Michael's death was part of a larger plot to control his estate. Others claim Michael's inner circle knew about the propofol use and looked the other way. Michael had long been paranoid that people were trying to control him. Maybe he wasn't wrong, but the truth is simpler and more tragic. Micheal Jackson was a man under immense pressure, manipulated and betrayed by the very people he trusted to protect him. Dr. Murray may have been the one to administer the final dose, but the exploitation and negligence went much deeper. Final reflection. Micheal Jackson didn't just die. He was failed by the very people he trusted. His wealth and fame gave him access to the best doctors, but it also made him vulnerable to exploitation. The people who should have protected him, from Murray to his handlers, put money and power ahead of his well-being. Michael's music lives on, but the circumstances of his death remain a dark stain on his legacy. He was a victim of his own fame, a man who just wanted to sleep but trusted the wrong person to help him, and that trust cost him his life.